Hello, Flo here. Got some more Bible reading to do today. So we're on day 2 of week 5. I didn't read yesterday. Took a day off. So maybe I'll talk about that at the end, if I remember. So today's reading is Genesis 30 and 31 and Matthew 6, verses 19 to 34. I found a pretty cool Bible app that is pretty bare bones. It does exactly what I need and nothing more. So that's cool. It should be a little bit easier to do the streams. I can just set up all the verses in one window now. Don't have to switch between them or search or anything. So I'm happy about that. It looks nice. About the same as before. Anyway, let's go for it. Oh, let me pray real quick. And just as a note on that, if anybody ever has any prayer requests that you want to share, either in a chat message or a comment later, let me know if it's specifically something that you want to be said in chat or not. I mean, in the streams. Because if you don't want me to, I don't need to do that, but I will pray for you either way. Otherwise, I'll just do my standard prayer, whatever comes to mind. Dear Lord, thank you for this day. Thank you for new day, like new mercies every day, that you forgive us and treat us with newness and freshness each time we encounter you or seek you. And you ask us to do the same for people around us, to reflect your nature and to not incur your wrath for our lack of forgiveness. I pray that you would teach us to forgive like you do every day, many times a day, 7 times a day plus more. You're asking us to forgive our brothers 7 times a day for the same sin as a reflection on what you do for us in our foolishness. Please keep us from sinning and from evil and temptation so that we don't require so much forgiveness all the time. Just to help us to grow and become more like you. Pray for Ryan, family friend. You know what he's going through. I don't exactly, but I know he's crushed in spirit and his world is tumbling, crumbling around him, so to speak. I know what that feels like. And because of that, I have compassion for him, and I know you do too. Pray that you would uphold him and give him a way out, show him a path through the darkness. Shine a light at his feet so he can know which steps to take. I pray that those steps would take him to you, that no matter what he's going through, he would sense your presence and your power in his life, and compassion and love. Bring others in his life that can help him and be listening ears if he needs that. Pray that you would make today's reading clear. Help us to understand, help us to grow and to absorb these things so that when we're faced with challenges, that we remember how you deal with your people and be comforted by that. Take away any confusion or doubt in our minds and help us to trust in you, and pray these things in Jesus' name, amen. All right. So yeah, this app is kind of cool. It's made sort of for screen presentation, so like using it in OBS or like in a church service or something. It's very bare bones, so I can switch between the different passages quite easily like this. And they're all in one window too, so I can just keep scrolling. I like it. It's nice. Has all the basic versions that I need. Can also do comparisons of different versions. But anyway, it's called I think it's called Bible Tool. It's on the Windows store, which I don't normally look for things there, but I did a search for tools, and it came up, so I'm trying it. I don't know if it's available for any platform, other platforms. I think it's made by a Chinese person, and it has a bunch of Chinese Bibles in it too, which is pretty cool. Good for Chinese people, or if you're trying to learn Chinese, which at one time in my life I was trying. Kind of epic failed on that, but I guess if I wanted to, I could use this app for that purpose. Anyway, let's go for it. Genesis chapter 30. When Rachel saw that she bore Jacob no children, Rachel envied her sister. She said to Jacob, "Give me children, or else I will die." Jacob's anger burned against Rachel, and he said, "Am I in God's place, who has withheld from you the fruit of the womb?" She said, "Behold, my maid Bilhah. Go into her that she may bear on my knees, and I also may obtain children by her." She gave him Bilhah, her servant, as wife, and Jacob went into her. Bilhah conceived and bore Jacob a son. Rachel said, "God has judged me, and has also heard my voice, and has given me a son." Therefore called she his name Dan. Bilhah, Rachel's servant, conceived again and bore Jacob a second son. Rachel said, "I have wrestled with my sister with mighty wrestlings, and have prevailed." She named him Naphtali. When Leah saw that she had finished bearing, she took Zilpah, her servant, and gave her to Jacob as a wife. Zilpah, Leah's servant, bore Jacob a son. Leah said, "How fortunate!" She named him Gad. Zilpah, Leah's servant, bore Jacob a second son. Leah said, "Happy am I, for the daughters will call me happy." She called him Asher. Reuben went in the days of wheat harvest and found mandrakes in the field, and brought them to his mother Leah. Then Rachel said to Leah, "Please give me some of your son's mandrakes." She said to her, "Is it a small matter that you have taken away my husband? Would you take away my son's mandrakes also?" Rachel said, "Therefore he will lie with you tonight for your son's mandrakes." Jacob came from the field in the evening, and Leah went out to meet him and said, "You must come into me, for I have surely hired you with my son's mandrakes." He lay with her that night. God listened to Leah, and she conceived and bore Jacob a fifth son. Leah said, "God has given me my hire, because I gave my servant to my husband." She named him Issachar. Leah conceived again and bore a sixth son to Jacob. Leah said, "God has endowed me with a good dowry. Now my husband will live with me, because I have borne him 6 sons. She named him Zebulun. Afterwards she bore a daughter and named her Dinah. God remembered Rachel, and God listened to her and opened her womb. She conceived, bore a son, and said, "God has taken away my reproach." She named him Joseph. Joseph means, "May he add," saying, "May Yahweh add another son to me." When Rachel had borne Joseph, Jacob said to Laban, "Send me away, that I may go to my own place and to my country. Give me my wives and my children, for whom I have served you, and let me go, for you know my service with which I have served you." Laban said to him, "If now I have found favor in your eyes, stay here, for I have divined that Yahweh has blessed me for your sake." He said, "Appoint me your wages, and I will give it." He said to him, "You know how I have served you, and how your livestock have fared with me. For it was little which you had before I came, and it has increased to a multitude. Yahweh has blessed you wherever I turned. Now, when will I provide for my own house also?" He said, "What shall I give you?" Jacob said, "You shall not give me anything. If you will do this thing for me, I will again feed your flock and keep it. I will pass through all your flock today, removing from there every speckled and spotted one, and every black one among the sheep, and the spotted and speckled among the goats. This will be my hire. So my righteousness will answer for me hereafter, when you come concerning my hire that is before you. Every one that is not speckled and spotted among the goats, and black among the sheep, that might be with me, will be considered stolen. Laban said, Behold, let it be according to your word. That day he removed the male goats that were streaked and spotted, and all the female goats that were speckled and spotted, every one that had white in it, and all the black ones among the sheep, and gave them into the hand of his sons. He set 3 days' journey between himself and Jacob fed the rest of Laban's flocks. Jacob took to himself rods of fresh poplar, almond, plane tree, peeled white streaks in them, and made the white appear which was in the rods. He set the rods which he had peeled opposite the flocks in the gutters in the watering troughs, where the flocks came to drink. They conceived when they came to drink. The flocks conceived before the rods, and the flocks produced streaked, speckled, and spotted. Jacob separated the lambs, and set the faces of the flocks toward the streaked and all the black in the flock of Laban, and he put his own droves apart, and didn't put them into Laban's flock. Whenever the stronger of the flock conceived, Jacob laid the rods in front of the eyes of the flock in the gutters, that they might conceive among the rods. But when the flock were feeble, he didn't put them in, so the feebler were Laban's and the stronger Jacob's. The man increased exceedingly and had large flocks, female servants and male servants, and camels and donkeys. All right, so that is chapter 30. There's a couple confusing things in that one. I've never really understood that. I haven't read any commentaries that I can remember, but it's weird. Like, I don't know if God helped Jacob in that, or if something that Jacob did actually has any science to it, but it sounds kind of superstitious or something weird, but he might have had some understanding with God, and God caused the sheep and goats to produce speckled and spotted so that they were his. I don't know. It's kind of weird. But then the other thing I was noticing is, I don't know if I can find it because that was a pretty long chapter. Oh yeah. Verse 6. Like, it's the worst English ever. Right? Therefore called she his name Dan. It sounds like Yoda or something. There's a few weird sentences in this translation that I'm using. Like, it's understandable. It's not like I can't understand what it's saying, but it's just unnecessarily convoluted. So yeah, I would not say this is my favorite translation. It could just say, therefore she called his name Dan, or therefore she named him Dan. Much simpler, has the same meaning. And there's some other sentences that read similarly that make it difficult to understand, especially someone like me that doesn't have the best reading comprehension. I don't have a lot to say about that, but see, now the next chapter is right in the same window, so I can just keep scrolling. It's cool. I like it. I like this app. All right, so let's go on to Genesis 31. He heard the words of Laban's sons, saying, Jacob has taken away all that was our father's. From that which was our father's has he gotten all his wealth. Jacob saw the expression on Laban's face, and behold, it was not toward him as before. Yahweh said to Jacob, Return to the land of your fathers, and to your relatives, and I will be with you. Jacob sent and called Rachel and Leah to the field to his flock, and said to them, I see the expression on your father's face. that it is not toward me as before, but the God of my father has been with me. You know that I have served your father with all of my strength. Your father has deceived me and changed my wages 10 times, but God didn't allow him to hurt me. If he said this, the speckled will be your wages, then all the flock bore speckled. If he said this, the streaked will be your wages, then all the flock bore streaked. Thus God has taken away your father's livestock and given them to me. During mating season, I lifted up my eyes and saw in a dream, and behold, the male goats which leaped on the flock were streaked, speckled, and grizzled. The angel of God said to me in the dream, Jacob, and I said, Here I am. He said, Now lift up your eyes and behold, all the male goats which leap on the flock are streaked, speckled, and grizzled, for I have seen all that Laban does to you. I am the God of Bethel, where you anointed a pillar, where you vowed a vow to me. Now arise, get out from this land, and return to the land of your birth. Rachel and Leah answered him, Is there yet any portion or inheritance for us in our father's house? Aren't we accounted by him as foreigners? For he has sold us, and has also quite devoured our money. For all the riches which God has taken away from our father, that is ours and our children's. Now then, whatever God has said to you, do. Then Jacob rose up and set his sons and his wives on the camels. And he took away all his livestock and all his possessions which he had gathered, including the livestock which he had gained in Padan Aram, to go to Isaac his father to the land of Canaan. Now Laban had gone to shear his sheep, and Rachel stole the teraphim were household idols that may have been associated with the inheritance rights to the household property that were her father's. Jacob deceived Laban the Syrian in that he didn't tell him that he was running away. So he fled with all that he had. He rose up, passed over the river, and set his face toward the mountain of Gilead. Laban was told on the 3rd day that Jacob had fled. He took his relatives with him and pursued him 7 days' journey. He overtook him in the mountain of Gilead. God came to Laban the Syrian in a dream of the night and said to him, Be careful that you don't speak to Jacob, either good or bad. Laban caught up with Jacob. Now Jacob had pitched his tent in the mountain, and Laban with his relatives encamped in the mountain of Gilead. Laban said to Jacob, What have you done that you have deceived me and carried away my daughters like captives of the sword? Why did you flee secretly and deceive me and didn't tell me that I might have sent you away with mirth and with songs, with tambourine and with harp, and didn't allow me to kiss my sons and my daughters? Now have you done foolishly. It is in the power of my hand to hurt you, but the God of your father spoke to me last night, saying, Be careful that you don't speak to Jacob either good or bad. Now you want to be gone because you greatly longed for your father's house, but why have you stolen my gods? Jacob answered Laban, Because I was afraid, for he said, Lest you should take your daughters from me by force. Anyone you find your gods with shall not live. Before our relatives, discern what is yours with me, and take it. For Jacob didn't know that Rachel had stolen them. Laban went into Jacob's tent, into Leah's tent, and into the tent of the 2 female servants, but he didn't find them. He went out of Leah's tent and entered into Rachel's tent. Now Rachel had taken the teraphim were household idols that may have been associated with inheritance rights to the household property, put them in the camel's saddle, and sat on them. Laban felt around all the tent, but didn't find them. She said to her father, Don't let my lord be angry that I can't rise up before you, for I am having my period. He searched but didn't find the teraphim. Jacob was angry and argued with Laban. Jacob answered Laban, What is my trespass? What is my sin that you have hotly pursued me? Now that you have felt around in all my stuff, what have you found of all your household stuff? Set it here before my relatives and your relatives, that we may judge between us two. These 20 years I have been with you. Your ewes and your female goats have not cast their young, and I haven't eaten the rams of your flocks. That which was torn of animals I didn't bring to you. I bore its loss. Of my hand you required it, whether stolen by day or stolen by night. This was my situation in the day the drought consumed me, and the frost by night, and my sleep fled from my eyes. These 20 years I have been in your house. I served you 14 years for your 2 daughters, and 6 years for your flock, and you have changed my wages 10 times. Unless the God of my father, the God of Abraham, and the fear of Isaac had been with me, surely now you would have sent me away empty. God has seen my affliction and the labor of my hands, and rebuked you last night. Laban answered Jacob, the daughters are my daughters, the children are my children, the flocks are my flocks. All that you see is mine, and what can I do today to these my daughters, or to their children whom they have borne? Now come, let us make a covenant, you and I, and let it be for a witness between me and you. Jacob took a stone and set it up for a pillar. Jacob said to his relatives, gather stones. They took stones and made a heap. They ate there by the heap. Laban called it Jegar Sahadutha, which means witness heap in Aramaic, but Jacob called it Gilead. Gilead means witness heap in Hebrew. Laban said, this heap is witness between me and you today. Therefore it was named Gilead and Mizpah, for he said, Yahweh watch between me and you when we are absent one from another. If you afflict my daughters, or if you take wives beside my daughters, no man is with us. Behold, God is witness between me and you. Laban said to Jacob, see this heap and see the pillar which I have set between me and you. May this heap be a witness, and the pillar be a witness, that I will not pass over this heap to you, and that you will not pass over this heap and this pillar to me for harm. The God of Abraham and the God of Nahor, the God of their father, judge between us. Then Jacob swore by the fear of his father Isaac. Jacob offered a sacrifice in the mountain and called his relatives to eat bread. They ate bread and stayed all night in the mountain. Early in the morning, Laban rose up and kissed his sons and his daughters and blessed them. Laban departed and returned to his place. Okay, so I see, at first I was confused because there was weird notes or repeated things in here, but I think it's because this app I'm using, like for example right here, Laban called it Jegar Sahadutha, but then it says that again. But I think it's because that's a note in the original version of this Bible, and this app isn't smart enough to put that like in a note form, so it just throws it right in there. So that was a little bit confusing, but I think I'm used to it now. I don't think it has a setting to make notes out of those, unfortunately. So I'll just have to deal with that. All right, so all we have left now is Matthew chapter 6, verses 19 to 34. So I like this passage. Don't lay up treasures for yourselves on the earth, where moth and rust consume, and where thieves break through and steal. But lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust consume, and where thieves don't break through and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. The lamp of the body is the eye. If therefore your eye is sound, your whole body will be full of light. But if your eye is evil, your whole body will be full of darkness. If therefore the light that is in you is darkness, how great is the darkness? No one can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or else he will be devoted to one and despise the other. You can't serve both God and mammon. Therefore I tell you, don't be anxious for your life, what you will eat or what you will drink, nor yet for your body what you will wear. Isn't life more than food, and the body more than clothing? See the birds of the sky, that they don't sow, neither do they reap, nor gather into barns. Your heavenly Father feeds them. Aren't you of much more value than they? Which of you, by being anxious, can add 1 moment, or literally cubit, to his lifespan? Why are you anxious about clothing? Consider the lilies of the field, how they grow. They don't toil, neither do they spin. Yet I tell you that even Solomon in all his glory was not dressed like one of these. But if God so clothes the grass of the field, which today exists and tomorrow is thrown into the oven, won't he much more clothe you, you of little faith? Therefore don't be anxious, saying, what will we eat, what will we drink, or what will we be clothed? For the Gentiles seek after all these things, for your heavenly Father knows that you need all these things. But seek first God's kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well. Therefore don't be anxious for tomorrow will be anxious for itself. Each day's own evil is sufficient. I was also going to mention, it seems like Laban was a terrible person, honestly. Like, no good at all. That's what the passage makes it sound like. Like, he probably would have harmed or even killed Jacob if he had the chance, but God protected Jacob, of course. But he just was happy to cheat his own family and treat them unfairly. It's just crazy. But I was sort of using my imagination. For some reason, I had this image of, imagine like Isaac's side of the family coming to this place where they're having this argument and just defending Jacob, make a cool movie or something. Of course, that's not what happened in the Bible, but just that drama idea could be interesting. I mean, because Laban was, I can't remember exactly how he was related to Isaac. Maybe his, I can't remember, like cousin, or I don't remember, but he was related. So it's kind of crazy that Laban was treating his family so poorly. Of course, back then they didn't have internet or cell phones, so they couldn't, like Jacob couldn't call up his dad and say, hey, Isaac, you know how Laban's treating me? Why don't you come over and have a talk with him or something? That wasn't possible, but anyway. Yeah, this is a good verse for people going through tough times. It's a good verse for me because I'm not worried about food or drink or what I'm clothed with necessarily, but I'm having a hard time just because I don't have a job right now, and so eventually I won't be able to buy food and drink. So I'm trying to trust God for that, and been applying to jobs, just haven't gotten any responses. I think it's really become hard to find jobs again. People are going back to work finally after not working for a long time, so it's a lot of people looking for not so many jobs kind of a situation. So, but God can provide miraculous things like we just learned in this passage and so many others. So doesn't really matter what the reality is. he's able to do great things. And if he decides that I have to go through more difficult times, then so be it. That's not up to me, really. Just have to do what I can. And I know a lot of other people are going through hard times too, so I hope that we have maybe a easier time soon. I think it's just a tough time to live, I guess. At least for some. I know some people are probably having it easy, but not most people I know of. So yeah, yesterday I went on a second hike. So 2 days ago I went on a hike and I got out too late. I was gonna maybe do a live stream, but I just got out there too late and it was gonna be dark soon and I didn't want to waste time trying to set up the live stream. But yesterday I did a short live stream. Got out a little bit earlier, so I walked along a river and got a short live stream in, but I don't think it went out everywhere. Sometimes some of the platforms just don't work. Like Bolt Plus sometimes doesn't work. Kick sometimes doesn't work also, and I don't know why. And then I'm not able to do YouNow streams when I'm out and about because they don't support RTMP technology. So there's no way to stream there. But, well, I mean, there's ways, but it's like super hacky and not worth the effort. So, but yeah, there's a replay on some of my channels like YouTube and Rumble and Odyssey or whatever if you want to see the little walk I did. Had a good friend, JD Max, drop by. Congrats again for him. He's getting married, so that's pretty exciting. But yeah, I don't have a whole lot else to talk about. Working on another 360 video, so that'll be probably posted within a day or two on my YouTube, Rumble, and Odyssey and BitChute channels. But anyway, that's about it. Nothing too exciting. So yeah, I think I'll head out, try to keep these short, and probably be on tomorrow. I don't know, but so we're on week 5, day 3, which is going to be Genesis chapters 32 to 37 and Matthew chapter 7 for tomorrow, or whenever the next day I read is. But yeah, wish all the best to you, and we'll see you next time.